Okay, good evening and welcome everyone. Today's date is the 21st of March 2025 and it is 7:07 here in Ireland. And this evening we have, starting from the top, we have Shakara, Tosha, myself, Soma, Arah, Christy, Clarke, and Denis, Mulcahy. So this evening, I think we're just going to really go with the flow and allow what comes through to come through. And I was just saying to everyone that I really love the light codes and channeling, and especially from Shakara and Christy. Um, and so I think maybe to this evening we could just maybe do that, just see what comes through, what messages come through. And I can feel Chief Golden Light Eagle here as well, which is no surprise if you've been following Shakara and myself. And Shakara, I had forgot to, last time you said that you wanted to talk to me afterwards, and I'd forgotten until the other day.
Oh, that's fine.
So maybe we could do that today because I forgot to do it last time. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So Denis, thank you, Shakara, and thank you, Christy, and everyone for being here today. Especially Shakara, Christy, and Denis. So, Denis, are you okay to begin with the prayers? And if you're able to turn your
Yes.
then please do.
Camera still. So,
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So I will begin with the prayer called the Law of One. This is not from the raw materials. I believe it is from something called the White Brotherhood. I also believe that this is a prayer which is galactic and is older than Earth. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask for the greatest good of all here concerned. I give thanks that this is done. It is so. And I will repeat it 2 more times. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask for the greatest good of all here concerned. I give thanks. This is done. It is so. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask for the greatest good of all here concerned. I give thanks that this is done. It is so. And I will share the I am mantra, which Federation of Light shared with Blossom Goodchild. And it is, I am the light. I am the love. I am the truth. I am. I am the light. I am the love. I am the truth. I am. I am the light. I am the love. I am the truth. I am. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing, I'm very happy to go with the flow. And so we'll be doing some light language. When I say me, I'm not including myself.
I think you should. You should just do your own. You have it.
I have yet to to be a channel for light language. So yeah. So who would like to start with either light language or light codes or messages or channeling or
Christy, you want to start? Can't hear you.
Sorry, yeah, I can start with some light language, if that's okay.
that would be wonderful. Yep.
Yaka ushiukuaka, idiuaka, ietuskuaka, iatuaka, ishiukua, iaka, iataukuskuaka, utuskikuaka, iata, ukutuskikuaka, ietishikuaka, ikutuskikuaka. Iata ukutusku uaka iata ukutusku uaka ukutusku uaka iata ukutusku ua iaka utuia iata ukutusku uaka iata ukutusku uaka uaka iata iua iata iata iakutiskuaka iata iakata iata uta uaka iasiukua iata. Namaste.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
I'd love to, I'd love to share something, but Soma, I'd really love to hear what you picked up on that, because I think, each one of us interprets and feels and visions and feels each of these things differently, and I'd love to hear your input.
Thanks, Shakara. Okay, so I was feeling or sensing or seeing, because sometimes I have to kind of think about how I'm perceiving it. But what I was getting overall was a very ancient male energy, not from Earth. I could kind of see a tall, thin male being, not human. And I was getting a sense of perhaps a cloak, or I would say a cloak of material around the body or form or being. And I felt a very strong that this being has or a very strong connection to not being from Earth and coming down from above, like coming in to our energy, our atmosphere, and a sense of being quite thin. And I also, I don't know if I heard the word or if I could kind of see it or feel it, but I was getting a sense of a mantis. And I don't know much about the mantis beings. I've heard of them, but so, and a very strong energy, and it kept it. The energy itself felt very strong, but very tall and thin, and somehow cloaked. There was a cloak I kept seeing. And I think Christy has a very profound connection to this being, and it might even be a collective group. And as I'm speaking, I'm seeing an image of ships coming in, and also Egypt as well. But ancient, even before the earth was, well, that's kind of a strange thing to say, but before the earth was formed, ancient is putting it mildly. But yeah, Christy, so I think that's about it. And Christy has his hand raised.
If Shakara wants to share, I don't mind coming back in after Shakara because I'm just after speaking. So I can wait. There's no problem.
I'm fine with doing my light language in a minute, but I think what's really
Okay.
important with this is I'd love to share what I got out of it also, because I think that I think it's important for people to experience other people and how they read energy differently, because the light language opens up your higher senses to begin with when you receive it, but it's also happening to the person who is transmitting it. And I always like to hear how the person is feeling when it's happening, because for me that's quite interesting. But also, like, we're all in feeling things at different levels in different ways, and I think it's really I'm just fascinated to hear like what you shared, Soma. So I'd love to share a little bit about what I picked up, and then I'm happy to do my own. So, but please go ahead.
As I was speaking the light language, you could see the tone was changing. The vibration within myself and the frequency was changing. And when I stopped, I became aware of this mantis being that Renturis had told me about. And I'll share the story on this. The reason I asked Renturis in a channeling session what happened to me in a situation in the forest.
In
where
this, what, just now you asked him or previously?
No, I asked him previously, but I know there's a mantis being around me from this update that I'm about to give. So I asked Renturis, speaking to him through a channel, what happened to me in the forest. And I was walking my dog, and I had the lead around my neck like this, and I had it tied like this, so the lead couldn't move, and the dog was running in front of me. So the lead was sitting on my chest, and when I got out of the forest, the lead was gone. And the only way the lead could have been removed if someone opened the knot and took her off me neck. And I knew immediately that I was after having an interaction with a higher intelligence. So in that moment, I decided to walk the same walk again, which took me 2 hours to look for the lead. And on the night, I didn't find it. But when I brought it to Renturis's attention, he said that was a mantis being that took the lead off you in the forest. Now, the only time I relaxed in the forest was about 5 minutes. I sat on the ground and I put my head up against a tree and I closed my eyes, and the dog was running around. He said he took it at that point. He said he's here at the moment and he's aware you're bringing that to my attention. This mantis being has had an incarnation with you a long time ago in another reality. So he's a trickster and he's playing games with you at the moment. So I'm glad you brought it up, he said, because I can now make you aware of it, that this mantis being is around you. So it's interesting that you, Soma, gave that feedback on the feeling that you received through that coded language. Like, you sensed it was a thin, tall being, and then you brought the word mantis into it. So it's very interesting. Thank you.
I thanks, Christy. I like, I still get, even with what I'm doing and the channeling and everything, I still get amazed sometimes by the information that comes through. And I hope that that never stops, you know. So can you share a little bit of what you know about mantis beings? Because I know very little about them other than what they look like. Are they positive beings, negative?
Do you want me to respond to that, Soma?
Please.
Um, um, I listened to a video yesterday of this lady, and I won't mention her name, but she was involved in the Super Soldier program in another reality, and she carried out some missions on Mars. And she spoke about one of the missions that she was involved in. They had to go into what she called a nest of mantis beings. And their plan was to take out the elders in the nest and everyone else would fail. That was the plan, okay, in that reality. But she passed a comment and she spoke about how the mantis beings were so evolved on a spiritual level that they had actually left their body. They were aware of the situation that was coming about. So they were able to leave the physical body in that reality and go into another dimension. Now they went in and they destroyed what they seen, but the elders, the mantis elders, had gone into another realm, like. But she spoke about their spiritual awareness and how spiritual they were, and how quite upset she became when she realized, when she came back after a 20 and back, what she was actually involved in, not just with that race of beings, like, you know. Um, so that has stayed with me. Not just that story, that video that I listened to, or not just because Renturas had brought that information to me, but I was always fascinated with the mantis being, with the mantis insect, the shape, the look, the texture. I was always fascinated and drawn to it. So, yeah, that information that Renturas gave me and allowed me to understand what was happening. Like, Renturas did say not to be too worried. You are very much protected, but this mantis being is playing a bit of a game with you at the moment. I asked him where the lead was gone because I couldn't find it back on the 2 hour exact walk. He said he's taken the lead. It's gone into another realm. Don't worry about it. You can organize another one, like, you know. So, but back to that story that that lady gave, that was quite touching, like, you know, how they were given instruction to take this race of elders out, and by doing so, it was going to affect the whole hive of mantis beings. And she gave some lovely illustrated drawings of their images, like, you know, they were quite interesting, like, you know. So that is the only information I have that has come to me now, like. I have come across them in the past, in updates and that like that, but I haven't sort of looked too deep into it, like, you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy.
Mhm.
And
May I share?
yes, go ahead,
Okay,
Shakara.
I don't know how to raise my hand. I forgot how to do
Okay.
that. So I'm just gonna use my actual hand, which
Yes.
seems to be melting in this Sedona background. um, can I just share a little bit? When you were speaking, I think it's so interesting because what I'm shown is, however the guides appear to us, and whatever the message comes through and that kind of thing. I think it's completely related to us and our unique frequency, and maybe, you know, how many lifetimes, what we've done in other lifetimes, and our star family. It's a combination of a lot of things, what I find. And then the light language that comes through, sometimes it's codes, sometimes it's healing, sometimes it's retuning frequency. Sometimes it's a coded message from one person to another. Sometimes it activates a particular code. So it does a lot of different things. And what I'm finding, because this this is all the stuff I'm writing about in my light language book, is everybody does it a little bit differently, but also what the person is experiencing, how it's happening for the expressor of the light language is really interesting. So the other thing I just wanted to mention is what I've been shown is we see things obviously through every filter of our own unique, upbringing, our background, and everything, and what we maybe are interested in or scared of, or whatever that range may be. So I think every one of these beings, I'll put it this way. What I'm shown is that every star tribe, which I consider ultimately to be everything, even animal nations and plant nations, star tribes, star nations, have positive beings and what I call divergent or digressive beings, like people. There's people that are positive and negative. But I think that even within all of those, there's both sides. So when you're talking about the trickster, on one hand, it could be a trickster, can be like even in the Lakota tradition. Chief and I were talking about this a lot. He's here again, of course, but this notion that they're trying to do something negative to you can be one interpretation. And the other thing is it's a spiritual test. And another thing is that they're showing you another side. Like in the Heyoka, in Lakota, they talk about the Heyoka, which are the tricksters that, medicine people. I don't say just men, medicine women too, but medicine people that do things backwards. It's like the fool in the Renaissance courts. It's the one that sees the world a different way, and I really appreciate that. So it all depends. All I'm saying, even the notion of a trickster is kind of up for debate about something, because I think they really have a gift to show you something, and I think if they're coming from a high vibration, even if it feels like a little play or something devious, if you, I don't know, I'm saying this, but there's some message in here. I think if you go along with it and figure something out about it and resolve or realize something, then it's like, it's like you've been given a gift. Well, that's, I say I don't channel. It's more like a transmission, but you could say we all channel. We're channeling thoughts at every moment from the Akashic. We're channeling energy and art when we make it. But I prefer to use the word transmission because it's, the live codes. But, I love that word too. But a couple things. When you spoke, I too saw a mantis. And my understanding is one of the things that I've studied, I get these downloads, I get the visitation from these guides, and then I study them. So the mantis, as I understand it, and many people describe them this way, are more like an advanced ET race of scientists. So a lot of people will experience them in dream time or even abduction or going to ships as like scientists with lab coats, or they're teaching advanced mathematics, quantum physics learning. So very, very brainy, maybe less emotional, soul connected. But I've always seen them as teachers. They come in sometimes when I'm up there, as teachers, and they're listeners and watchers and guiders. So maybe they're not as emotionally connected to their heart as maybe Pleiadians or Arcturians, kind of go both ways. But so that's what I'm feeling. When you said that, it was like this, I was seeing it's like a composite of you, maybe these people you've been or something. And I'm not interpreting, I'm just saying what I was feeling. Was this really ancient, like an ancient one, which was interesting because Denis read the Law of One. And it was like this very, exactly like you said, like this very thin being just kind of floating, dark, but almost like a shadow. And a lot of times when I experience the ancient ones, there's even ancient Arcturian elders that I visit, or way back from the Anu pre-Anunnaki. There's a tribe. So that was another. It was like a composite being of this mantis, this Anu energy, this ancient wisdom keeper, and what else was I feeling? A little bit. I listen to the tones in the light language, and sometimes I can recognize. Toward the end, it sounded almost like dolphin and whale speak, the kind of thing. The tree language, we have physical trees here, but they represent a vibration. I've been told they have their own planet and have a certain vibration. And a friend of mine does tree language, which is like, that kind of fast or staccato, but it had something in the quality that you were bringing forth. So, and I was seeing Esasani, the Esasani beings, and a couple things. So it's a really, really beautiful message. It felt like an ancient, almost like we think of Aramaic or Hebrew, or like an original light language that everyone spoke. There's a tone in your voice that you hit that with a combination of words, that really connects to me, to my heart. So, just wanted to share that. So yeah, so I can share a little bit of light language, and sometimes it's just whoever's showing up for you guys, or for the group that's watching, and sometimes it's like a composite, as like all these different guides. But whatever comes through, I'll just say the light language. I'll do some messages later, but it's more just the frequency of the language and pictures. Like I'm gonna telepath pictures. Vichakpi Tosha Weshtewi, Shakara Tosha. Shakutu Singir was Sanin and Washambo to la Kine. Isamano no shop, Butu Sangir was Sanin and Washanko to us, Kotuanin and Washanka. Asamanu Shukutu Skinin and Washamato, so Musukoto, Shingir was Sanin and Washankutu as a kind. Isamene no la kainen no shanko pos kuto shingiro sanen no shamoto skane. Isamo no la kainen no shampo osuka tu titiste kinen no shanta bola kainen no shamboto skinen no shanko to samanen. Ante good sama zikido na nini was sank bod na neko to there. Then me can't do a shana ma can no shank about that kind no shaki about that ne sukuda no shank no sank about the washakan. There's a lot. Sukutu shin in no saman and no shunkutu skin in mo la kind no sama to so to shaki tete no sama to sakana. Tosh kita neno sanko moso musko to shinge sando sumo no shokonda didu shim put neno no kan sputu shinge no sanen no shamadola kinen no shankotola kanen no shankoto mo shakota nene no shankodola kinen no shankite sanga. Ne alga ne no shango mang ne no shakodo sine ne no shakodo shinge no sent to a shan uso to shane siku to shinge no sana actin no shama utu sanma ne siki titwa. Message. so many guides.
That was lovely.
There's more. They were like lighting up. I can feel them. They're like,
oh, well, go ahead, Shakara, go ahead.
I don't know if my body can handle it right now. I'll take a break for a minute.
Okay.
It's intense energy.
Yeah. Denis, would you like to share something, anything?
See there?
Not now. Thank you.
Okay, Christy.
Yeah, I just like to say that we could speak light language together. I don't know whether you've ever tried this before. So
Many
what
times.
happens? Yeah, well then, yeah, that's good. Yeah, so we can feed up. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask if you guys have any input on what, like, I'd love to hear what you were experiencing when I was talking, and then I'd love to do the conversation for sure.
Okay. Is that for me or Christy or both?
Both.
Okay.
If you want to. I mean, it's always interesting to hear other people's experience.
Yeah. For me personally, when people speak light language, including myself, I feed more into the energy and the vibration and the sound. Some people, when they speak, they can interpret the message into our language. I have tried that a few times and it works. Not saying it doesn't, but I'm inclined to fall back into what I'm feeling from the message. And I mean from the sound that is made during the performance, like, and how that makes me feel. And that allows me then to understand really how I'm connecting to you and how I'm connecting to them, and how we're all basically connected, not just in the call, because again, there's that ripple effect from the message that allows us to understand that it's important, not just because we brought it across now. It's important that we allow ourselves to tap into that awareness, because it's just like another program we can go to when we feel the time is right, either in a call like this or in a meditation or a quiet time. So that's where I go, Shakara. I felt very, very drawn to the message. I felt as well also that you could have went on. You decided not to pull away, but you brought it down lovely, the message. But I felt, as you said yourself, there was more there. And I think that can happen to me also. You know, there's times where I can keep going, but that's where I bring myself back in, or allow myself to come back into the message, and I'll bring it back down to an energy where I'm just ready to close off. But as you've said, there is many watching this call. There's many feeding into our energy. It's like they've stepped back and they've relaxed, and they're connecting with us emotionally and possibly physically. And the reason I say that is because my body's on fire here at the moment. I'm not sure who's around us, but so it's like when the call started and we made sure we were all in the room, we also had an audience that we weren't aware of that was there, may not in the physical, but they were monitoring quite closely as to what the discussions were and where the conversation was going. And they work through us in that, either in our light languages or in our channeling, to get their message out, their message across.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to say, sometimes I've spoken light language to a large group of people for for a while, for an hour or two. I mean, I have no problem, as Soma knows, I have no problem with the
Yeah.
language or talking about it or whatever comes through. I think what I was feeling is there's quite an intense energy. So there's a lot of, I was feeling maybe even everybody who might even see this in the future. You know, I'm picking up their guides, that kind of thing. And also, you know, the spring equinox yesterday and today, a lot of people believe this is the end of the Kali Yuga. There's a lot of, and we could talk about that separately, but there's a huge energy shifts going on right now. And so I think that was, I rarely, if ever, get overwhelmed. Like I could do this for hours, but it was a combination of guides. And I think
We're racist, but they're not going to go back. Like if they
on that. Who's Denis channeling through. But you know, anyway, there's I speak, I connect with in the physical and have spoken to and speak many guides, like 13 different groups of like 50 guides: Sasquatch, Divine Feminine, Arcturian, Lemurian, you know, tree language. I mean, it all has come to me and come through me. So it's all, when I do this, especially when people just say, just speak, you know, when it's not directed at a particular focus, it's like you want to bring it all in, we're going to do it. So I guess was also feeling all of these energies simultaneously. That was a lot for my body, but usually it's, you know, so there was like a Lemurian and Arcturian, there was like these guides kind of blending together in the Divine Feminine and a dragon and a, you know, an ancient elder. And, you know, I can usually recognize, you know, the languages that come in. But anyway, it was interesting. So thank you for your sharing. So I'd love to hear what you got out of that.
I was trying to remember what I saw. I was seeing, and like Christy was saying just now about the language. So the first time, the first time I was in a group with, that's not correct actually. I'd been in the group for a while with Misha Johnson, and she was doing a light language session, and I was in the group, and people were doing light language, and I think it was the very first time I did it. And I think only a few words came through, but when other people were doing it, what I was getting was the English word for what, during that session, I was getting the English word. I was seeing the word, which is normally how I receive information as well as other ways, but that's one way I do get information, is I see words like months or names or road names, you know. But I was seeing what the English word would be for the light language. So that was one way I was seeing in Misha's group. And I wasn't seeing it this time, but Christy made me think of it. And so what I was seeing this time, just now, was, or feeling, a sense of grandmothers stood on the earth in a circle, again with a night sky, at night and outside, and they're all seem to dress warm enough, but it just feels like a sacred ceremony, and I can't remember. Oh yes, golden chief light eagle.
Golden light eagle.
Sorry, yes, I always get that wrong.
That's okay. It's okay.
He was saying, he was giving me a message, and I felt like he wanted to step in and bring a message, but I felt a bit uncomfortable with it. So I kind of stopped it. I kind of put a cap on it and stood back energetically. But the feeling of what he was saying, or the gist of what he was saying, was that he wants other people to, perhaps I'll just pause the recording. Okay, so we took a little break there, guys. Um, would you guys like a proper coffee break?
So Christy and I are going to share a little light language back and forth. So for you. So let's go.
Christy, you're on mute. Actually, you're not on mute. I'm sorry to disturb you. I know I hate that when people disturb me, but we couldn't hear you, but you weren't on mute.
You dropped out in the beginning. Could you say a little more something so I could pick it up?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Very interesting. Your sound completely went out the whole time. As soon as you started speaking until right at the end, I could hear. I mean, it's quite interesting. It's like you were talking in another frequency. It's very interesting because I heard your voice start and stop at the end and the beginning, and then all of a sudden I saw you moving but didn't hear anything. Same with you, Soma? You didn't hear, right? Where'd she go?
Yeah, the same with me.
Very interesting.
It was most likely some breakdown or interference with your broadband signal, because it also affected the video. Video became more pixelated and poor quality. But even though there was no audio, what was interesting is there was still the energy transmission from that.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the energy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I felt the energy coming through for sure. But, sometimes when we work in these higher frequencies, a lot of stuff happens. I mean, it definitely could have been a broadband, computer connection. But it really felt like you were shifting up into a higher vibration, or maybe the guides are censoring some information that's supposed to come in another way. So just like Denis was saying, I was feeling it very deeply. Didn't matter that I was hearing it or not. I heard it, especially the way you were moving. And to me, your video was fine. I just couldn't hear you. And I think that really says a lot about the light language. It's quite high frequency, like master. It's like ancient master language.
Yeah. You can hear me now, Shakara, yeah?
Yeah.
That's interesting, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I felt the mantis beings were back in that light language. Before I started, I knew the mantis beings wanted to come through. So I just allowed them to take the lead on that, and I could sense and feel the change in frequency and vibration. But it's interesting that the sound stopped. It could be, as Denis said, an interference with the Wi-Fi, but it also could be an interference from them.
They do that often.
Yeah.
I have a lot of tech issues with people on calls.
I just wanted to say that I think it's both. I think it was them interfering with their technology, and then also possibly other interference as well.
I just got a notification that says your internet connection is unstable. Well, let's just give them a run for their money, as they say. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Shikutu singere wasanen no shamato mo sakoto shingere wasanen no shamboto la nene no shankoto singe.
Yakutuaka, yaka, utushkiyaka, yada, yakushkiyukuaka, yaka, utushkiyukuaka, yaka, utukushkiyukuaka, utuchikuaka, utuchikuaka.
Ikete nene no shanna, but got no do usha kaine, the bushan and mama katoto to a shannen and was. I ne kun dan get it was some ne tinin and was some munta and
Yakuaka, yata, ukushiyaka, utuchikuaka, yakutiyaka, utuchikuaka, utuchikuaka. Yaka utuchikuaka, utuchikuaka, yakutiyaka, utuchikuaka, utuchikuaka.
Look at that. No, mama. Ganna. Kinne du. Skinne no what. Tänk om någon av oss. Men kokto. Fan, mamma. Kadane.
Yakuaka, utuchikuaka, yakuchikuaka, utuchikuaka, yakuchikuaka, yata, utuchikuaka. Yaka ua yaka utuchikuaka utuchikuaka
Yaka koto shene manuma sangbodo wala kainene no shangboda aina kuba ai de shu shingine sama mama namasa. Aina.
Ai akuaka tiaka aka ishiukuaka Iaka te iaku utu shiku uaka. Iaka te iaka utu shiaku ua. Iaka ua. Ietu uaka utu shiku uaka. Utu shiku uaka. Utu shiku uaka tu uaka. Ishiki ua. Iaka ua.
Yaka shkinde de rosa kamboma. Ama nene no masanka iwaka ine rea sake nino u sukut nema chinkamba ne
Iaka. Iaka. Iatata. Yakutu shikuaka.
de no sa kuto shingin de ba sa de wa
Ukuaka, iaka, utokutushikuaka, ieta, iaka, ukuaki, kutushikuaka, utokuaka, ishikiakuaka, utushikuaka.
tu shingi tu mana kudu no shingi do na no masanko Busta kay nene no wala kan tenen ma shingi do sanka bodo shine no masaka do shine
Ishioa, Yata, Yakuaka, Ota, Yeshikutu, Aka, Tuchiku, Aka, Yeta, Yakutu, Akujikuaka, Yakutu, Aka, Utushiku,
ata inne ikapa na nene ma sanka bobona di divashine ne maneno sanka to muso to te se ki titi do shema mama no wala anka on taka dista Anna nuno shingirwa sama no anto anu kanno shinto boska.
Yata, Itate, Yukutuaka, Ishiokuaka, Iakata, Ukutushikuaka, Akutushikuaka, Utushikuaka, Utoyakutushikuaka, Utushikuaka, Akutushikuaka, Akutushikuaka, Ishikioku,
Chikunuma singe, Denua. Zinenua sanka, manua sanko to singing a mansan and was, and then was on more mama. It was singing. Nika den ni kokiden was some mother. Ne, no was sanko to us.
Ushua, Ushua, Kutushkua, Kutushkua, Yakutushkua, Kutushkua, Ishikua, Ishikua, Kutushkua, Kutushkua, Yatamukuti, Otushkua, Kutushkua, Kutushkua, Ituaka. Yakuta, Shiti, Yatiaka.
Singit to which get to sanko, but there was singing it was singing of singit, the bedawa singing, the wishing it, the was singing the what a block or the naked wishing it, say what wishing it of someone of coin.
Yokuaka. Yata yaku, Tushiku, Yakta, Yakata, Yakutushti, Yokuaka, Yataya. Aka Udo, Aku, Tushiku, Yakata, Ishiki, Kuaka.
And take what was singing it was sun and was somewhat was came dead to was in and summer. It's a more kotoshkin.
Yata, Yako, Yakata, Ushiku, Yukuaka, Yata Ukuaka, Yaka Utushikuaka, Yokutuaka, Yishikuaka, Utushiku Yikua, Yatu Uka, Utushiku Yaku, Utushiku Uaka, Tishikuaka, Yikutu Yakurishikuaka, Yaka, Ukori Yakota, Yishikukua.
It's wishing about the work I know and my shaman were. Ante, get the door sending was summer do shako to a shingy but do la kainen and was shanko to a skin and was it was singing.
Yakuatia, Ako Yakashikuaka, Aka Iatoko, Kukushikua, Kishikutia, Kukushikua, Kishikutia, Yakuaka, Yakuaka, Yatokushikuaka, Yakutua, Gata Yakushikuaka, Shikuaka, Yashikutuaka, Mushikuaka, Muakatia. Yakatiyakuaka.
It's a dwasan and Madbulakan and was shanka the wasan. I say nurse put the wishing it was some lana no was shanko, Usakataita. And I was sanky, else when I was sang. I never but the washkin, it was in the moon was shanty.
Ishikuaka, Iata, Uku, Iaka, Udishi, Iakuaka, Ota, Utishikuaka, Iakotu, Utishikuaka, Ushikuaka, Iakutuaka, Iakushikuaka, Iakutuaka, Utishikuaka, Utishikuaka, Ushikuaka.
Chukuto is singing with Saninuma Shantabola kind. I'm complete.
Yakuaka, Idiaka, Ushiuaka, Utashikia, Uta, Guaka, Diakushkua.
Namaste.
Wopilapidama. Ichakli Shoshawish to Kotua Shingi.
Wow. Wow, guys. So that was just really amazing. I was going very deep there. And then it's funny, Shakara, because as you were ending up, as you were closing off, I had someone, I don't know who it was, but they jabbed my arm and I jumped. And you probably see it on the camera for those watching. But I had the name Shakara and I knew you were coming back. So I
got it. I put the message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. And as both of you were speaking, I was seeing images and I felt like I was translating. And then it came to me, and I don't know if it came from me or to me, but it came anyway. It came that I felt like I really wanted to interpret what both of you were saying, because I could see not everything, but I could see most definitely some of the messages. And I really felt like interpreting, but I don't know if that was coming from me, that feeling, or if it was coming to me, that's perhaps what we might or should do in the future. I don't know. I'll kind of leave that both up to both of you. And there was, when you were doing it, Shakara, I got a sense of a mum figure, and a very strong mum influence, very nurturing, very caring, wanting to take care of her children. And then when Christy was doing it, I was seeing an image, or I kept hearing the word Yeshua. And I normally use the name Jesus. But I kept hearing Yeshua when Christy was speaking, and I could really feel his energy because I do work with him quite closely. And also I meant to say Chief Golden Light Eagle. I felt his presence very strongly. And also an ancient energy with Christy again. Denis, you're probably did you get anything, Denis? I don't think Denis is able. Yeah, I don't think Denis is able to speak.
Yeah, he's going to telepath it to you. He telepathed it to you.
But there are times, most definitely, when both Denis and I are aware of telepathy in instances, in the moments and seconds. You know, we're both, we're very tuned in to each other.
It's interesting. I don't know, Christy, if this happens to you, but a lot of times I can hear different star languages coming from people. Besides, I pick up people's telepathic thoughts, but I also hear messages that they don't even know that they're speaking. It's like their higher self or the guides are talking to me. And sometimes when I'm doing things, I'll just hear star languages without a person around, almost like star people are talking to me. I just want to mention also when I was speaking, something popped up on Zoom that said, "Did you change your language? Are you even speaking English?" You know, maybe you want to adjust the language that you're speaking in. It was so funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, on my, I think it's because I was speaking, but I had a very interesting experience. I just want to share when I was in Sedona after I spoke at this conference. I'm based a lot in Sedona. That's what's happening in the background here, but I'm in somewhere else now. But I was out with friends after this conference, and the guy that was leading the conference, we were talking about light language and spontaneously doing it. And so I just went up to this guy. My friend was videotaping for, you know, filming, whatever you say, videoing for his show. And I went up to this guy and I just said something in light language, and he, 28-year-old man, and he, something like that. And then he spontaneously started talking back to me, but he was talking like elfin speak, and he was singing almost an opera and then doing the language. And I would say something, he would say something, and I've got it on video that I replay sometimes, but it's very, very interesting. So a lot of times I'll just speak light language to people, and people say is, it's not especially mine, but the light language I do activates that in other people, and they'll just spontaneously start talking. This has happened a lot. Or the people that I'm with, you know, I'll do it, and then later they'll start doing the light language, you know, drawing, or, but especially the verbal. It's very interesting how it activates it in other people. And I think, I don't know if you've had that experience too.
Yeah, that's how our star family work. I
Mm.
mean, they're actually queuing up at the moment, waiting for the opportunity either to come in through light language or come through in a channeling message. So they actually argue with each other on the other side who wants to speak first and who wants to come in first. And normally
Yeah.
it's the being you're connecting to that has that choice. But on numerous occasions, I've had that situation where renters say it's really interesting here. There's many energies want to come forward and communicate. Like so, they're just really excited on the other side, and they're so happy that we've come together and we are able to bring our energy and frequency to that point with the help and support of these guides. Like so, they're quite happy really to watch, but also it's much more exciting when we allow them to come through, either through channeling or through the light language, or just take the physical body over, because I do often get to a point where I'm speaking and I know it's not me. I'm having a conversation with somebody, but I know that there's somebody else coming in on the conversation, and they're actually allowing me to express and get my point across a lot better. Not saying that I would be weak in that moment, but it's like they're constantly waiting. And it's one of the reasons we're in the position we are at this time, because we chose to be, of course, but we're here and we've been switched on. And in that moment, they're always waiting for the door to open. And when it opens, they're in straight away. Like, and
Yeah. Yeah. My guides tell me often they like people like us because we can feel them. We have a connection to them, and they're really excited because they can talk through us as a conduit. But it's also like, for me, they say they partner with me, so they're not really taking over my body. I'm consciously here, and they're the way that they're, and it's evolving, I'm sure with you too. But it's like my higher self is talking to their higher self, and they're like sharing a moment together. And so when I'm conscious, I'm in body, but I can watch it. But it's like an aspect of me, right? It's me. So it's not like I want to clarify this for some people, because a lot of people think that channeling is take like an entity that takes over completely. And while there are positive and negative ways of doing that, I think, like you're saying, it's like I have to partner with them. So, I think it's important to acknowledge that this is also you. This is your higher self kind of working with these guides, and it's almost like the portals open and it's another way for them to come through. But I think this is aspects of us is what I'm getting.
Yeah. Something you shared there is interesting, really. And for me as well, I can get to that point where I'm actually watching myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's an aspect of the 3D version watching what's happening in the other version of myself in that moment.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that. I
Thank you.
had an experience where I was channeling, and but I was looking. So I was sat in a chair and I was channeling, and I was aware of the Pleiadians and Ashtar talking through me, and yet I was looking at my younger self who was on my left, because I was aware of a presence, and I turned and looked at her psychically, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But she was looking at me, but it was my younger self when I was around 7 or 8. And she was just looking at me. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in there.
I've been having a lot of experiences where me now is talking to my younger self in the same room from here. Like my younger self is appearing to me now, and then it shifts where I go back to my younger self and I'm in my room and I can see everything, and I'm inside my younger self and I see my present self come in. It's really interesting how this is flip-flopping. I also wanted to share real quick, when these guides come in, as they're speaking, especially when I'm doing sessions, they're picking up a person's energy, their vibration, their higher self, and their guides. And there's a lot of conversation going on. So just like you said, there's a little part of me that slips aside and I'm watching my higher self and the guides, their guides, whatever, kind of working up here. And then my job is to kind of bring it down and out to the person in the 3D. But as this is happening, every time I'm speaking with somebody, it's new to me, and the guides will come in and bring in a message in light language while I'm getting holographic packets of information that my higher self is kind of breaking out. It's like a whole ball of quantum stuff, and I'm going, oh, this is interesting. And then the guides are actually teaching me as they're talking through me. So it's like 4 aspects of me: one that's present, one that's watching, one that's interpreting, one that's being taught, and one that's teaching. Like, well, this is how it feels to be in the human body. And this is how it happens also when I get the downloads. There are these packets of information, but they're like aspects of me that I don't know, it's just really interesting how this manifests. And then last thing is when I go up often to this ship, this Arcturian ship that I'm starting to talk about more. And there's a room where there's like 5 different rooms. There's a healing room that has kind of like a med bed, something that has like door portals, something that has a wall of codes and stuff I'll talk about later. But as I'm experiencing these, I go outside it. I go somewhere within my body. So it's not just like my psychic self, but I'm actually feel like aspects of my physical self. Some aspects are going there. It's not just remote viewing. And while I'm being worked on, for example, on the table, I come out of my body, but it's different than, out of body experience. I'm in the body, and an aspect of me comes, and the guide comes, and as they're doing something to me, like healing or recalibrating, I get to ask them questions. Well, what does the heart do? How do these systems work? And it's like I'm seeing holographic layers of myself where I can be the student and be asking questions while I'm being worked on. It's really weird. Many different ways that plays out, but that's one couple examples.
They are always looking for an opportunity to expand consciousness.
Mm.
So whatever chance they get, if it's in what you describe,
Mm.
if they find an opening, they will work on that opening and they will
Mhm.
allow you to understand and feel what's actually happening. Um, as you're aware, they're very careful what they give us. Like, they are aware that, 3D vibrationally is quite low to them, like, and
Mhm.
they're aware as to what we're manifesting through thought. So they're quite gentle with us, positive beings, and they're very respectful, really, as to how they interact. Um, if it's just sitting beside you and allowing you to feel their energy, or you catching a flicker in the side of your eye or a sound,
Mhm.
they're giving you all these messages, and they're just waiting for the opportunity for you to come into that feeling, that sense of, oh, I know they're there. You just got that thought in the second, I know something's happening, and you act on it. And
Mhm.
when we act on it, yeah, sometimes we're not aware of the work that's being done in the background. As you just described, Shakara, they're downloading information into our subconscious, and it's like, okay, Shakara has received her download. She may not activate it for a week, but it's there.
Mm.
And they will come through in that moment also. The information is already there, but they will support the information in your channeling or in your light language. It's like, so it's just like the system upgrade on your technology, much the same. They're giving you that information, and as I shared earlier on, I questioned this on a few times to Ranturis. I says, what's happening? He says, well, you're channeling. He says, even though you're in a verbal conversation, we're coming in on that. Like, just be aware of that. Like, so that's really, really interesting. For me, it was because um, I was always trying to, my 3D mind was wired in a way that I says, this is a long time ago, I says, I don't believe who you say you are, like, and he says, that's okay. How can I prove it to you? Like, and I says, no, it's just my ability to accept and understand what's actually happening to me and who you say you are and who I am. Like, so
Mm.
all that had to play out, like, until eventually we get to a point where there's a settling and there's an acceptance. Like, it's like when you see your first UFO craft and you say, okay, oh my God, that's amazing. And it happens, and it may happen a few times after that. And the program just moves away from that. You've seen it, you've accepted it, it's a reality, but now you have to take it up another level, like, and I think personally for me, that's what's happening to me. They're constantly upgrading, like, they're constantly downloading, letting me play also in 3D, have that wonderful experience on Earth, because you're going to be back very, very soon. So we want you to enjoy what you see down there
Mm.
through your lens, even though it's a bit chaotic. You can find that diamond within yourself when you're in line with that energy. Like, so it's quite interesting how we can multitask in many, many ways, like,
Mhm.
and what I mean by that is, I mean, we can shift very, very
Absolutely.
quick
Yeah.
in and out, like, so yeah, thanks.
I think also I just want to mention on top of that, from adding to what you said, or being inspired by what you said, I should say. Um, we're expanding so quickly, and I don't know, it's a combination of upgrades, downloads, information, and the multidimensional aspect. For me, Soma knows my story a little bit more, but all my life I've seen starred people, I've gotten downloads, I've written codes in the script. I mean, I came in like that, so I didn't have a perception that it was wrong or bad or weird or anything. I mean, to me, it was just exploration. And what's interesting is it's come to me in so many forms, holographic images, sounds, feelings, vibrations, things in my body, things I see, smell, hear, like these higher senses that I think I knew very early on how to access, but even the way that it comes out, I'm speaking light language, but downloading, like Christy, I don't know if you know, I've been downloading, typing and writing and dictating messages for 10 years, like 6 hours a day. I mean, I have so much work, and I'm dyslexic, borderline dyslexic, I have to say. Like, I don't write. I don't know how this is happening, but I look at this body of stuff that I've written in it. It's words and it's codes, and they have a very specific way that they have to go together, even when I'm writing it in poetry or the books or whatever. But like all these books and all this art, I do hundreds of codes. I write this script over and over. So it's like just oozing out of me all the time. And putting it together, is what's kind of, it's like, how does it fit together? That's my work right now.
I would like to ask a question, and part of it is for me, but I already know the answer, but it's mostly for the audience. So, because some of the things that you're both speaking about, or have said this evening, I've thought of it a couple of times as you've been speaking. So the question is, and again, mostly for the audience, but there's still an aspect, there's still a small percentage of me that wants to know, even though I know already. But the question is, how do I word that? Why us?
You mean us individually?
Yeah, why us? And the likes of us.
Well, see, I'll come in if that's okay and try and answer that question and just give my version of really what I'm feeling since you just described what you said. Like, that was one of the questions I brought to Renturas 10 years ago. I'll go back 10 years ago, and it was very simple: why me? And at that stage, I wasn't aware of who Renturas was. Renturas came to me as kin. I have his name on my bracelet here. Kin, which is family. And I says, yeah, okay, family, okay. And I'm trying to understand what's actually happening in the moment. I'm communicating with a being in another dimension, another reality, and he's given me his name as kin. But for me on Earth, I was trying to figure out, why have you singled me out on Earth? And he tried to explain very, very briefly why that was. Not giving me what he did give me eventually, but they're very careful on how they reconnect with us back in the 3D physical body. We've come from there, but we've come in here to have this human experience. We're moving on a different program. We can call it 3D, and we're having this interesting experience on Earth and watching this film play out. But there's another aspect of us that is very, very much alive in another reality that we tap into also. Some of us are aware and some of us are not. Like, some of us get a sense, some of us get a feeling, some of us get a smell, some of us get an understanding, some of us get an update, somebody says something and triggers something within ourselves. So we are all connected, and the majority of the collective is beginning to understand, either through listening to an update from you or Shakara, that this is interesting. I'm drawn to this energy. I'm drawn to how this person speaks. I'm drawn to the name. And they will use everything possible for you to expand in that way. So you will help somebody around. So we have not been singled out. It was something that we have agreed on. We would come in and have what we call a 3D experience, and then we will have a paranormal experience, or we will have a visitation, or we might have a sighting or something like that. But that question, why me, was something that my 3D mind kept in the background, because I was trying to figure out really how this is going to play out, which I normally do. You know, I would go into my analytical world, I would break it down, dissect it, and then I would dissect it again, and possibly try and dissect it again. And until I said, well, okay, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Ken. Let's roll with this, you know. But one question, I leave it with this, that was given to me back then, and it was very simple, and it was, are you ready?
Mm. Yeah.
And I was blown away by that.
I have to say something, Christy, because I get asked that a lot over the years. Like when I've reached a certain level and I'm just kind of plateauing or just going with the flow and everything's comfortable and going nicely. They'll normally ask me before some kind of upgrade or movement forward or progression in my own life. They'll ask me, are you ready? So yeah.
Can I add to that also? What I've been shown is that those of us, I mean, nobody's better than anybody, you know. I think there are people that have had more life experiences, human life experiences than others. There are people that have had extensive life experiences of being elementals and plants and trees and seeds. And then there are star seeds that have come here for the first time. There are people that have been, you know, it's like somebody travels once in their life or not at all, and then somebody's like a jet setting all over. It's like, you know, they're planet hoppers and, you know, lifetimes and everything. So people have different life timelines and that kind of thing, and experience. But also, you know, you can have two people in the same life experience, and somebody will try all these things and somebody just kicks back and doesn't want to do anything, is scared, or they want to go out and have these, you know, or maybe just a simple life, you know, it fluctuates. But it's also this will. I've been thinking a lot about will and engagement and action, and the guides are showing me that it's really, you know, when they talk about the chosen ones, nobody is chosen in that way. God doesn't say you but not you. It's we choose ourselves to awaken at a certain time. It's almost like I'm really getting it now, like my timelines when I was a child, and then when I was in my 20s, what happened, and then the awakening process that I went through, which is really a remembering of all of these things I've been, and same with you guys, I'm sure. And but it really is something that we chose to do. We set a course for ourselves. I mean, I don't know why I'm writing hundreds of books. I must have agreed to that somehow or whatever, but it's also creative. But there's, you know, the other work that we're all doing, whether it's a career or whether, you know, and it's our full-time work, or whether it's something we just do or something on the side, it's the same thing, right? I do believe that we all have a choice to get engaged in life or not. We all have a choice to be of service. I think that's the most important thing. But why are we the open channels? They just tell me they're just looking for somebody who will listen, somebody who hears. You know, all my psychic friends say the same thing. They say they ask, you know, the spirits when they come around, why? And they're like, because you're an open channel and you get me. I'm going like this and you can see me. You know, so they want that connection, but it's also the vibration of the person that can handle it. They can hold it. Just like you said, when the star people come in, it is a very intense energy. Sometimes I'm burning up. Sometimes my body's shaking. And so I've learned how to master this. Hold on one second. And so I just want to say it's quite fascinating, the whole process. But I think what I'm being shown is it's us opening up to our true self. Like we're becoming galactic, we're becoming fully conscious, fully spiritual, fully physical. So it's an evolution process for us individually, and then us. I think everybody has this ability. What I'm showing is everybody has these codes of creation within them. Everybody has more dominant codes, like somebody's redhead or blonde or whatever, it's genetic or energetic. And everybody has this potential. Anybody can do this, but they do it in their own way. And then it's like, I always think of myself first and foremost as an artist, that I'm creating with reality, and that, it's just play. But anybody can do this. Anybody can speak light language. You don't have to. Anybody can listen. It's just a perception. Being aware of the listening for the sound, looking for the energy. I think. Can't hear you. Your audio's off.
Thanks, Shakara. So Christy, you have a question, or you raised your hand anyway? Oh, Christy, you're muted.
Sorry, folks. Sorry. Just back to that wonderful question, are you ready? And I've given a description of that question coming to me and me responding, and which was really interesting, and it was quite emotional, really, knowing that here was another intelligence and another reality gauging my vibration and frequency. And given me the opportunity, well, we're going to ask you, are you ready? We're not going to put any pressure on you. Are you ready?
No pressure.
Yeah. And I says, in my 3D mind, is this a trick question? I was actually playing this game with Rentour as well. He was kin at the time, and I was trying to, if I was really honest, I was trying to manipulate him in a way like that, I'm ahead of you, I'm thinking what you're thinking. And that wasn't the case at all, but he gave me that opportunity to answer that question. And when I did, I said, yes, I am ready. Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. And I says, what does that mean? I said, well, he said, it means we're going to work a lot closer with you and things are going to change. And I went, oh, what do you mean things are going to change? Well, things would slowly change. And I says, give me an example, I says, really. And he said to me, we're going to strip you to the bone and rebuild you. I went, what? He said, yes. Now, we don't mean strip you to the bone, but we're going to work on your physical body, your synapses, your nervous system, your emotional state. And I'm having flashbacks, and I'm trying to visualize being stripped to the bone. What are they going to do to me, because I have had experiences which I shared off camera in the past, and I was trying to understand and be safe in the moment and feel that safeness and say, well, okay, Ken is me, and he wants to express that and he wants me to accept it, and that can only be done over time. So me accepting that I was ready gave not just Ken, but there was other energies involved also, the opportunity to say, well, okay, let's up our game, Christy has agreed to allow us to come in that bit more, and that's how they work, very, very subtle, and by doing so, again, they walk that walk with you. I'm sure there's been many occasions where we've all went into our mind. It happens to me all the time, where I analyze and I have this two-way conversation with myself, trying to understand, well, okay, where am I in this? Here I am, an aspect of me in the forest, and I'm trying to visualize what's going on, because the outside world, can struggle listening to my story, because it's not that they don't understand, but they have difficulty accepting it, so it's a really wonderful place to be, and it's a wonderful story to share, because when you try and break it down, there's so many layers to it, It just goes on and it just goes on and it just goes on. Like 6,500 years is a long time. That's how long Rentura said. You know me about 6,500 years. I went, what? He says, yeah, you've had different incarnations here and there, but you know, we've been together that length of time, like, and so that's just giving you some idea as to our distant relationship outside of your reality, which is me in the physical and 3D, like, you know. So that itself, trying to understand that and accept it sometimes went beyond words, like, you know. Yeah.
Well, also, I just want to mention, it's whatever we've learned in this 3D world. I think 90% of what we're all doing now is letting go of the things that we've adopted that aren't really us or truthful to us or something. There seems to be a huge clearing out process, but a lot of it, any resistance that I know that people may feel, whether they are connecting to star people or anything, elementals, totems, animal spirits, psychic world, all these worlds exist, but 90% of the problem is they think it's bad, or they've been told it's weird, or you're doing this wah wah woo woo language or whatever, you're making it up. I mean, people used to tell me that all the time. When you're just imagining these beings, you're jibber jabbering, and I'm like, at some point you get to your own truth. Like, you do this so long and go ha ha ha, funny, it's just what I do. And then I also wanted to address what you said about, we were both laughing when you said about being stripped of everything. I think there's a really interesting thing, a lot of times they say when people are deeply on their spiritual path, it's hard to understand. You really have to sometimes go in seclusion. I mean, this is what I've been doing for 4 or 5 years, and now I'm coming back into the world, but you got to go there to listen in the silence, whether it's inside or to the spirits, the star people. You got to get on the ground or whatever, but you got to hear your voice. I think all this whole journey for me was letting go of everything and really finding my voice and hearing me, figuring out what that me as a human, above and beyond the ego or identity, and then how is that related to God, source, human, the divine, and others. And then things started making sense. But I just want to say, for anybody that's watching, if this stuff is happening to you, you're not weird. You're not weird at all. And I think you need to explore it, but do so mindfully. It's very important to be protected, and so you don't bring in negative energies. But you'll know it's you got to trust it. You got to trust and read the energy, just like people. So the higher you raise your vibration, the more you're going to get in tune with this, and the more you're going to be able to filter out what doesn't feel right, which I think is really, really important. And then however it comes to you, but this is what I'm seeing. Everybody's senses are being awakened right now. They're going to start to see etheric things. They're going to start to feel weird things in their body. They're starting to see, things, spirits in their peripheral. Yeah.
So I had a question that I've been wanting to ask. And then both of you mentioned it without me asking. But the question was, like, sometimes, and I'm going to will I stop the recording, or will I just go with it? No, I'll just go with it.
Let's go with it. I think it's important.
I'll just go with it.
If it's not personal, I think it's important.
Well, it is personal, but I'll just go with it anyway, because I like to be as transparent as possible for this very reason of the question. But so I've done a couple of interviews. I mean, I've done lots of interviews, but a couple come to mind where the interviewer was very negative towards me, and was and after the interview put some very negative comments on the internet, saying that I was a new age wannabe, I think, or something similar, and basically calling me a fraud and a fake, and saying that I wasn't channeling the Pleiadians. And the first time it happened, that really kind of shook me, because but it wasn't during the interview that the energy went down. It was from the very beginning of the interview. So it felt like it was kind of a setup. And that was, I probably don't want to mention the name of the interview, but anyway.
I think that's better
then
you don't.
Huh?
I think it's better you don't. It's irrelevant. It's just about this scenario.
Yeah, I won't. Thanks, Shakara. Sometimes I'm not sure whether to say stuff or not.
I think it's better to not.
Yeah. Thanks, Shakara. Because sometimes I don't have much of a filter at all. And also I want to be as transparent as possible because of that very reason. Because I have been called a fake and a fraud. And then both of you brought up that energy or conversation anyway, naturally, which is interesting because I felt that you were guided to say those things. But my question is to both of you, have you come across that personally, and how have you dealt with it? Because I'm stronger than like I have a different perspective now, and I'm stronger within myself and more confident and secure, and all of that stuff. But how, like, has that ever happened to you guys, and how have you dealt with it?
Can I address this first? Thank you. All the time, period. All the time. So since I was little, people either love to be around me or they can't stand to be around me. It's really interesting. I never understood it. I was bullied as a kid. I was teased. I was misunderstood. I was ousted. I was called names. I was chased home. I mean, for lots of different reasons. And I was just being myself. And it forced me to shut down and become very shy and quiet for years. And then I think when these star people started coming, I started finding my own voice. But most of my work that I'm realizing, besides the quantum and the spiritual and the star people and everything, that the core of my work is really about the personal self and the journey of self-empowerment and feeling good about yourself and feeling happy to be human and your self-expression and seeking and finding love and support with other people. And for whatever reason, I had to go through this really deep stuff. I have been on shows where people cut you off. I mean, it's like conversations, somebody will cut off. They won't be present, they won't be listening, or they have an agenda and they're talking and they just want to, you're a number for them. I've had that. I've had numerous experiences where people want to, justify. They want me to explain, to justify, to prove, well, do you have pictures or whatever? I mean, I've been around that energy, especially with like Sasquatch and star people and ships. I'm like, no, I sit with Sasquatch, I talk to him, I see him, I don't need pictures. You want to talk to him, let's go out or whatever. But there's a curiosity. When the human mind doesn't understand something, they have to prove it. The whole Sasquatch thing, like show me the pictures, validate it, bring me bodies. It's like, it's not about hunting, and the same with the star people. And I tell people they come to people who are open, I mean, sometimes they're negative scenarios and everything in the world. I don't really have them anymore, have that ever with them. It's like the star people were the nicest people to me. But when people don't understand something themselves, it's usually projected or reflected back to you. So that's we have been taught, and I really believe this to be true, that we're creating everything, right? If somebody says something to me, it's something I have to look at. If I don't like something I see, or something hurts me or whatever, it's the universe telling me to clean up my act or take responsibility for something. But it's not always a literal, this is you.
Denis, are you listening? Sorry,
Yes.
Shakara.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay, back over to you.
Checking in. And anyway, just yes, it happens often, and at some point, it's really about what you feel your own truth is, and you'll get to a point where it's also the law of attraction. Less of those type of people will come around, and more people will come around that like really like you and they want to connect with you. And this is how you and I, we got it signals to connect, but there's just an immediate friendship and a love and a support. It just happens. And the other people you just have to leave on the wayside and say, they'll figure it out. But they don't even, most of the time, people aren't aware of what they're doing. I mean, it really is like we're living in a world of zombies where people are going through the motions and they have no idea. They've lost human empathy. They can't feel, oh my gosh, that person is feeling a certain way or whatever. But it's this combination of overstimulation. This is what's going on in the world right now, or distraction, or people have an agenda, or they have numbers and points and likes and things they're ranking and they want to hit. And at some point, what I love about getting older, I still feel very, very young, but what I love about becoming an older woman in my my crone phase is you don't have to give an F. You just say, yeah, no thank you. My daughter has this great phrase, no thank you. She just turns and goes. And I've learned from her, she's such a great filter of energy. So I'm just saying I would not worry about it. And who cares? You can just kind of laugh it off. And the chief is here too. He used to teach me this over and over and over and over again. He used to tease me all the time. And he used to say, I thought at that time it was like to make me stronger, like a spiritual training. So I didn't say anything back. I just took it, And then he said, oh, well, in our family, you get teased if you're loved, if you're not paid attention to, we don't care about you. So the more we tease you, we love you. And I said, well, in my family, teasing was evil and mean and hurtful, So there's two different stories. But he said to me, you know what? He said, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, did anybody call you this name? And I said, yeah. Did anybody call you this name? Yeah. This name, yeah. He's standing right behind me laughing. And he said, it's just words. It's just words. It's just an understanding. So he told me, and this is him talking to me, through me to you guys right now. He said, don't take it on, give it back. He always says, just give it back. He had a whole list of what I call egoisms that I'm going to put in this book that I'm writing, that I put in this book. One of the things he says is they'll get over it. He said, let it go, give it back. It's actually free will. It's honoring their free will. And when it's their time, they'll understand. But I really wouldn't worry about it. Just keep vibrating toward the people that, feel in alignment.
And he did call me back for a second interview a couple of months ago. And I was really surprised. And I just completely ignored his email.
It's also communication. People have different ways. It's like we're all coming from different backgrounds. So we're speaking different languages. We have to find a common language, right? And so to him, it could be like, what are you saying? But it may sound mean or like try to put you down, but it might actually be like, I don't understand. I want to understand, so it's really up to us to filter where that comes from. But I think, just use your own sensibility, what feels right.
Thank you, Shakara. Christy, were you going to say something?
Yes, I was. And this is a very deep conversation, not just because Shakara has spoken, but it's something I think that can go to another level, like. And
oh yeah.
and I know it's being recorded and that, but I mean, I can just give you my brief insight, but I think we could go back to that again off camera and dissect it, like, which could give us some insight really as to our brokenness. And I don't want anyone to take that personally, like, we're quite fragile because we have been through a war emotionally and physically, not just in this incarnation. We've come back here because we were selected and we were strong enough to go the distance, but we've been hurt, just through the indoctrination in this reality, like, you know, how we've been guided along the path, and we're all aware what I mean by that, until we get to a certain point and say, no, I need to change the road, I need to go on other routes. This is not helping me at all, like. And that's where the conflict can start within, like, you know, because you decide to not disagree, but you decide to go another way. And that's the road I went. And isolation played a big part of my life, like, you know, the sort of way, which I'll go into deeper maybe off camera, because um, I was quite unique in many, many ways. Like, and when Rinturas had said to me, we're going to strip you to the bone and rebuild you, I went, oh my God, what are they going to take from me? Like, and I went into panic mode because my life was busy. You know, my life was like family. I'd children. I was quite busy, like, you know, and I had this being coming in the outside, which blew me away. It was so beautiful to know that I was having a relationship with a being from another dimension. When I reflected where I'd come from, and here I had this being is coming in from another reality to say, Christy, I have your back. Don't worry about it. Everything is going to be okay. So we start to try and fix what is broken. And sometimes we run away from that because it becomes so difficult emotionally. We don't find the answers we're looking for in the present moment. And each experience takes us to another experience, which takes us to another experience. So it's interesting that this conversation has come up tonight because, as we have said, everything is happening now, right now, at 21:11 Irish time. I haven't got a problem in the world. Now, what will happen when I end the call and I go down and I interact with family and something catches my eye and a thought comes into my awareness? And again, I have to make sure, really, where I am and what I'm about. And what I'm about is something that I'm still trying to understand. I'm down here having this human experience, but what's going on outside of that is the information that I'm calling for. And as we said earlier on, you don't want to overload you. We also want you to have the human experience because you're the contract coming in. And we're really not allowed to break that contract because that comes directly from source, like, you know. But we want to play with you because we've had loads of fun in the past and we're reconnecting with you on earth for a specific reason, like, you know. But to take it back to the physical in this reality and try and heal on the inside and the outside, that takes time, like, that takes time. When you've been broken and you realize that that is another program that you can play in if you choose to, but you can sense over time when you are connecting to these beings of light that they have a plan for me. And that plan for me is to understand, yes, you're down there having a human experience. It's quite difficult down on earth. We want you to realize how brave you are and the respect we have for you to take that road. Like, you know, it's not easy because you're going to be met with the obstacles that we just spoke about tonight. And to come over that, really, as I said earlier on, when you see the craft, okay, I've seen it, it's real, I see it, I might see another one, great. Where are you going to go from that point? And it's all about expansion. And by doing so, the ripple effect from this conversation from me, yes, hopefully will help someone close to me to understand their greatness, really. They may not be ready to open up that program in their awareness, but they're sensing something. They want something. And it comes to them in many shapes and forms, like, you know. But that's an interesting topic that we could maybe discuss off camera, really, because it's quite deep, it's quite raw, and it could be quite delicate, like, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Go ahead, Shakara. And yes, I was, yeah.
Do you want to add? Oh, you could. Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, keep in mind that we are really on the cutting edge of a lot of this stuff, you know. And you and I talked about Mary Rodwell, for example. The thing I love most about Mary is she just is always open to possibility. She never says no. She says, well, what was it like for you and how does it feel? I mean, in the interviews and the things and the call I had with her, it's just warm and open. You know, she's fascinated with what can happen. And when I have sessions, I never negate people's experience. Because to me, even if it's in a dream, it's coming for some reason, right? Even if it's a past life, even if it's a spirit outside of, in whatever form. But you got to remember, it's like somebody talking about yoga and tarot card reading 10, 20 years ago. It was like voodoo, you know, like don't even go near that stuff or whatever. Now everybody, it's like become part of pop culture, you know, it's become gentrified as a practice, you know, and there are people that do really, really deep intuitive spiritual work with that stuff, and then people that, you know, take a weekend course and pop in and, you know, do it. So I mean, there's a whole levels of the learning and the practice of all this and the living of all this stuff. But when you're talking about star people, light language, Bigfoot, you know, elementals connecting with trees and the earth and everything, I mean, it's like, on one hand, you're talking about the ancient ceremonial stuff that indigenous people, that the first people did, that we all did, that we all knew. And I think we were probably all of that. And we forgot. And what's ironic is this is like coming back full circle of all of that. It's, you know, you mentioned like it felt like a ceremony when I was speaking light language. To me, every time I do anything, whether I make art, talk to people, whatever, it's a ceremony because we're in this sacred space. It's not a business arrangement, you know, anymore. And I've been in that world, but it's, all I'm saying is that this stuff is still really cutting edge for most people. But in the last couple of months, even, you know, I'm seeing Bashar going mainstream and all these people sharing videos of, you know, people seeing starships and walking around Sasquatch and, you know, whatever, seeing fairies. And it's becoming part of normal mainstream culture now, and all the UAPs and all the stuff, at least that's happening here with the panels. And, you know, it's not as weird as it is, to the point where there's a tipping point right now where people, even if they're non-believers, they're seeing enough people talking about ETs and chips and everything that, you know, it's giving me more confidence to just speak about it. But each time, what Christy was saying, each time each of us shares, somebody out there that's scared to do it or that feels embarrassed will be empowered to share their story. I mean, my hope is that somebody watching this will be inspired to listen to themselves, tap in, and, you know, whatever. So but it's, you know, we're doing something that's pretty radical, new still.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. And I guess we should, I mean, it's 9:20. I could, we could, I know we could go for hours, but Denis, would you like to add anything?
Maybe he can't talk.
Okay.
Yes, I would in about 3 minutes.
Okay.
That keep going.
So, oh, no coffee then either. That's funny. Okay. So,
she needs her coffee.
yeah, I do. I love coffee.
I need my coffee right now. Me too.
So, so don't go anywhere. When I stop, please don't go anywhere when I stop the recording, and that's for everyone. But could you please can everyone, because we all offer services, and please mention your websites. I will list them anyway, but so people can check out your services and what you offer.
To go first? You mean us? Us people?
Yes.
People in the audience would like to share, please do. So shakaratoSha.com, it's my name.com. And real quickly, I offer personal sessions, many different types. I just expanded all these different personal sessions, so I can do a reading or guidance, career, family, also all these ceremonies that I'm starting to do, end of life, life transition, et cetera, and performances and stuff. So I'm very much available now, going back online to do public speaking, online conferences, home gatherings. I'm going to start traveling again all over. I'm seeing that I'm traveling all over the world, actually, so I might come to Dublin and see you guys. But as I'm rolling out these books and everything, and big new things are happening. So anyway, it's myname.com, and I'd love to connect, or please sign up for my newsletter, because I give a lot of perks and discounts and certain messages just for that audience. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me share that. Can't hear you.
So we have to meet if you're coming to Ireland.
Of course, we're going to do something together.
Yes.
For sure.
Go ahead, Christy. Wonderful, Shakara. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I put up my website. I'm not too sure, but I can put it up again, my webpage, selected by light beings, Christy Clarke, connecting to stars. I'll put it up on the page later. Yeah, I offer services on that page again. I offer one-to-one guidance, and I offer channeling sessions. So yeah, anyone that's interested has a choice really. Sessions last one-to-one lasts about an hour. Channeling sessions last normally 30 minutes, and I come in on the website on a donation based only. And the reason I do that is I know there has to be an exchange, and I understand that. But at the moment, monetary, I don't need monetary today. I have been supported by the universe. I may get to a point where I have to increase my prices, but at the moment, it's a donation based only. Yeah. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And Denis, would you like to share your website? I'm saying that because I'm trying to encourage Denis to actually get his website online, because he's very gifted in the healing, very gifted in the healing, and in other areas as well, and kind of needs to step up to the plate. And forgive me for saying that. So I also offer readings and a whole lot of things. If you'd like to check me out and join my Substack, it's free or paid versions. You can find most of the information on Substack, or most of what I'm doing. I have started to offer new services for half-an-hour sessions instead of an hour sessions, for both the channeling, the Pleiadian channeling, and also readings. So I now do, it's not a reduced rate, but you pay less because you get half an hour instead of an hour. And I also have 3 groups. I have a Saturday group where I also channel, and a Sunday group where I also channel, and the energies are very different in both those groups. And on the 1st of every month, beginning on the 1st of April, I'm starting a new group which is strictly for people that have subscribed to my Substack, whether it's monthly, yearly, or as a founder. And that will include a Q&A with the Pleiadians. I predominantly channel Ashtar, but Jesus is often present and sometimes does come through in those channelings, but also very connected to him since a child. And my website is somaarah.love. Denis, are you able to speak now?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So to go back to the story of when you were interviewed by someone and the person was not just, it wasn't that they were not friendly or not supportive, they were actually antagonistic and belittling and such. And that is unpleasant, of course. Now, at a human level, it's very understandable and natural to be upset, disappointed, hurt in that. And then at that human 3D level, there are different techniques to deal with that. How to stay calm, how to make your point and stand your ground. There are skills and techniques on that. But more importantly, I want to leave that part aside. So there, clearly, emotionally, you're hurt. Your ego is hurt, and you have this feeling of pain and shock and indignation. And that's all the human stuff. So it's just worthy to, and then that it was pointed out earlier by Christy that this just shows our frailty, not you personally, of the human condition, because we all have traumas. We all have a history of painful experiences, and then things can happen in life that trigger them. And so then the past unhealed emotion in the body can get triggered, and we can have this strong response to it. But coming to a higher overview of it as immortal being that is God fractal, I am presence that dwells in the fifth dimension and higher, to understand that you have chosen this experience. And Shakara has pointed out how you who are being victimized or in strife, other people can relate with that and see you as the hero, and it can strengthen them in their own life and struggle. But it points to that there is healing needed, you know. So something that's personal here is, you have to heal that, and you have to give forgiveness. And this is a fifth dimensional, this is a higher frequency approach to this challenge. Like, what is required is to give forgiveness to that person, to have compassion for their the limitedness and shortness of their own perception, experience, and knowledge. What's also required there is to allow and accept and And another important point in this is with regards to validation. There are all sorts of rules in the human level and the third dimension where things are dualistic. They're right or they're wrong. They're good or they're bad. And they're good manners, bad manners. And we can go, well, he's wrong to have done this, and it's bad manners and such, all sorts of labels in it. But when you come up to a higher dimension on it, it's important to accept it, and validation, don't look for it from another person. Validation has got to come from within. And what is within? Within is your immortal divine self, which is connected to the all that is, connected to Mother God and Father God, connected to your ancestors, connected to your starseed families. And here you have this mission or purpose, and there is lesson here. So the third dimension can, this human level, we can look at the hurt and get stuck in the hurt, but there is invitation here to see what is the lesson. And there is never just one lesson. What is the blessing? So here I am, oh look, I feel wounded, I feel hurt. So there is blessing and gift offered here that you're being invited to forgive yourself, to heal your past hurts, to give compassion to them, to give compassion to this person who's showing this rudeness. Does that make some sense?
That was that was beautiful. Um, yeah, that was beautifully said. Thank you.
Can I share one more thing that I was inspired to say? Because I know you want to wrap up. Everything that Denis said, I absolutely believe. It's a law of attraction, law of balance. It's something that's actually strengthening us. And usually what I've found in the long run is that the people that have the hardest challenges in life have the biggest mission. They have the biggest purpose. So if you turn it around, instead of feeling victimized, and I don't mean you, I mean anybody, when you step out of that, oh, they're trying to hurt me, oh, I feel so bad, or they don't like me or something, and you don't worry about that anymore. That's I don't know, a big part of the experience of why that stuff happens. It's actually there to make you stronger. You know, when I just want to say though, as women, it's a little bit it's an even, I won't say touchy or sensitive topic, but because women are so empathic, there's a little different flavor that happens with women because of what we've experienced as a collective and because of something in our bodies, you know.
Thank you, Shakara, for bringing that up, because there is a difference within. Yeah,
it is. So women are a little bit more sensitive, so we approach things a different way. There's a little more cautiousness, a little, you know, there's a lot of layers, or we take things on. We've been taught, I mean, it's 90% of it I think is programming, and the other part is our energetic field, or how we process emotions a little bit differently, or that kind of thing. I just want to throw that in because that is a factor, I think, in how women interact, or, you know, it's not a men versus women thing, but it's something to keep in mind. So what Denis was saying, I absolutely believe and support everything that he was saying. It's truth all the way through. And at the same time, there's this other layer as a woman that we have to navigate, which is a whole other conversation. That's all. I just wanted to share that.
thank you, Shakara. Okay, so I think I think we should just call it an evening there, because it's 9:34 here now. And okay, so thank you everyone for watching. And if you have any questions for any of us that were present today, whether it's myself, Christy, Shakara, or Denis, then do message us and let us know. I will share Denis's Facebook if you would like some healing, because he doesn't have a website yet. So thank you everyone. We shall see you all very soon, and blessings to